This is Smart Poker Study episode 186, Stealing Fundamentals, an excerpt from my Preflop Online Poker audiobook. In last week's episode number 185, I answered 3 questions about understanding HUD stats in the Smart HUD, recognizing tilt, and picking up on live actions. It's poker study time, y'all! Thank you so much for listening and for sharing the show with other people. Thanks for tuning in, for subscribing to the podcast on whatever podcatcher you use, and for leaving reviews within that podcatcher. I really do appreciate it. Those reviews and all the kind words, all the social media sharing, it helps to alert other people to the show, so I appreciate it. So right now, I'm in the middle of recording the audiobook version for Preflop Online Poker. And I wanted to share with you part of the introduction so you know what the book's going to be about, and I'm going to share with you one of the chapters. The chapter is on blind stealing fundamentals. The book's going to be available next week as an early release opportunity for my newsletter subscribers. It'll be on Amazon sometime the week after that, so I guess in about 2 weeks on Amazon. So here's how this episode is going to work. I'm going to play the first part of the introduction. Afterwards, you'll hear like a little musical interlude. Then Chapter 7, called Stealing Fundamentals, will play for you. The chapter is going to cover the value of stealing, the math behind stealing, developing a stealing mindset, and who to target for steals. After this, you'll hear me give the statistics to track this week. This is a section at the end of every chapter where I give you important statistics to track in order to help you gauge your progress in the topic at hand. Of course, all the statistics I tell you to track with this chapter are steal related. After this, you'll hear a Play with Purpose segment. At the end of every chapter, I give you 2 to 3 tasks to complete that help you purposely practice the skills or strategies that I discuss. And the final segment will be a Study with Purpose section. At the end of every chapter, I also give you 3 to 4 tasks to help you further study the topic at hand. Just reading the chapter isn't good enough for learning. You've got to dive into your database to learn more from the way you've played your hands in the past. Please visit the show notes page for everything I discussed today, along with screenshots and links at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod186. And while you're there, make sure you can sign up for the weekly boost for exclusive poker strategy direct to your inbox, and that's the only way you'll be able to get in on the early release for the book next week. Okay, it's that time. Gambate!
This is damn exciting stuff.
Introduction. How would it feel to know that you have the skills to always make money at No Limit Hold'em? To confidently log into your online poker domain of choice, take a seat at any table, and play winning poker against your opponents? That would be a great feeling, and it's how we all want to feel. But to succeed in the world of online poker, you must take the game seriously and work to improve your skills. This is where most poker players fail. They enjoy the game and play a lot, but don't take their study and strategy development seriously. They remain break-even or losing players due to this lackadaisical, fun-centered approach. They don't study with intent, nor do they play with passion. This is fine for some players, but I know that doesn't describe you. You're intent on improving your online game, and you're willing to work hard to build the foundational skills necessary to crush your opponents. But you've encountered a problem. It's extremely difficult to improve your game. You would think that with the tens of thousands of videos, articles, books, and podcasts dedicated to poker strategy, that improving your game would be a lovely stroll on a beautiful autumn day. But it's more like trudging through mosquito-infested swamps on a muggy, grimy day. With so much information at our fingertips, we suffer from poker information overload. We don't know where to start, and even if we finally grasp a concept, we don't know where to go next. Is it concept B, C, Q, or even X that we must now pursue? The thing I was lacking for years was a roadmap to follow. Try driving from my home state of California to Maine without a map. Sure, I guess I head east and north, but beyond that, it's just a big crapshoot, and I'm not about to roll the dice on a 3,300-mile journey. Like a drive from coast to coast, the climb from poker amateur to a poker moneymaker is easier if someone lays out a path that takes you step by step through your poker journey. That's the intention of this book, giving you an online poker improvement roadmap. No more poker overload. No more hopscotching from skill to skill. experimenting with this one and that one without fully grasping any of them. No more time lost in the dark, playing session after session the exact same way without any clear progression in your skill set. This book will show you how to knock over poker's dominoes, or fundamental skills, one at a time, so you can build yourself into the online player you want to be. What are poker's dominoes? Og Mandino once said, "It is those who concentrate on but one thing at a time who advance in this world." Here's the big idea behind this book. Knocking over one domino at a time will avoid poker study overload and will lead to significant improvement in your poker game. The domino effect states that a domino can knock over another domino that's 50% bigger than itself. This has been demonstrated with full-scale mock-up dominoes by some ambitious researchers in the past. Toppling that humongous domino of poker excellence is possible if we focus our energy into one domino at a time. Building poker skills the smart way requires you to topple each domino in a specific order, building one skill on top of the other as we move toward the poker player we want to become. The dominoes logically progress from one poker fundamental to the next, starting pre-flop, then working our way post-flop. The skills you learn while knocking over the first domino of pre-flop ranges will help you knock over the second domino of stealing blinds. Those skills will assist you in knocking over the third domino of 3-bets, and so on. This first volume covers the 4 pre-flop dominoes. These fundamentals are necessary to make you a complete player because your pre-flop decisions ultimately affect every hand of poker you play. Making better pre-flop decisions lead to easier and more profitable post-flop decisions. Sub-Domino 2.1 Stealing Fundamentals. A blind steal is when you make an open raise from the cutoff, button, or small blind with the intent of earning the 1.5 big blind pot. You can steal from any position, but I don't recommend doing it before the cutoff. Your steal from the hijack or earlier has too many people to get through, so it has very little chance of succeeding. Every steal attempt is a bluff after all, so the less opponents the better. The value of stealing blinds. It may not seem like a lot, but earning an additional 1.5 big blinds without even seeing a flop is a valuable skill to develop. Every blind counts, and you've got to do what it takes to earn more than your fair share. There are 5 benefits that come with improving your blind steals. Benefit number 1, increasing your total win rate. A good win rate at the lowest stakes is around 4 big blinds per 100 hands. Stealing the blinds one additional time in every 100 hands will bring this up to 5.5 big blinds per 100 hands. Stealing 2 additional times will bring it up to 7 big blinds per 100 hands, almost doubling an already good win rate. Stealing increases your cutoff, button, and small blind win rates. This helps to offset the expected losses in the blinds. Because you're forced to put chips in the pot with random hands in the worst positions, it's common to have a long-term win rate in the big blind of negative 40 big blinds per 100 hands, and negative 20 big blinds per 100 hands in the small blind. Benefit number 2, playing in position more versus your opponents. When you steal from the cutoff, the button often folds, giving you prime post-flop position. You automatically have this positional advantage when you're on the button. By putting pressure in these 2 best positions, you're giving yourself positional advantage more often, allowing you to exploit your opponent's weaker blind defending ranges. Benefit number 3, developing a greater understanding of your opponents. Successful stealing relies on your understanding of the 3 players to your left. It forces you to assess the profitability of stealing from these opponents based on stats, history, and how they're currently playing. Focusing your attention on these 3 players is beneficial also because they have the biggest advantage over you, position. Chips flow around the table from the right to the left because of positional advantage. Understanding those to your left helps to nullify this advantage. Benefit number 4, the more you do, the more you can do. Stealing pre-flop gives insights into stealing in general, so the skills you develop will improve your post-flop steal game, which is bluffing. Before stealing pre-flop, you're looking at your opponent's steal-related stats and picking prime opportunities. This practice will be of benefit when you're working on post-flop bluff c-bets, bluff check raises, floats, or even bluff donk bets in the future. And benefit number 5, it gets you more active. Being the active aggressor at the tables can tick off your opponents and send them to Tiltsville. if they hate having their blinds stolen. We all know players who view it as, "He's stealing my blinds!" The anger these players experience may cause them to fight for their blinds with weak ranges, which you can take advantage of. Plus, when you get active with lots of steals, it's harder for your opponent to put you on a hand. This can work to your advantage when they finally decide to fight back with 3 bets, and you've got a hand worthy of 4 betting and getting it in. The math behind steals. Use the break-even formula and a few critical stats to gauge the profitability of a steal. Here's an example scenario. Stealing from the button versus foldy blinds. It's folded around to the hero on the button with 8-6 suited, and hero is considering a steal to 3 big blinds. The small blind villain has a fold to steal of 86%, the big blind villain has a fold to steal of 90%. What is hero's best option, fold or steal? And how often does a 3 big blind steal have to work to break even? And the answer? Hero must steal in this spot. Hero's 3 big blind steal only needs to work 67% of the time to break even. That's the 3 big blind bet divided by the total pot of 4.5 big blinds. Both opponents separately fold to steals greater than this, so it seems like a no-brainer, right? Almost. How often do these 2 opponents fold to steals together? This is a simple calculation that takes the small blind's fold to steal stat and multiplies it by the big blind's fold to steal stat. For this scenario, 0.86 times 0.9 equals 0.77. So both players fold together 77% of the time. Yep, they both fold together greater than the break-even percentage, so it's a positive EV steal. Contrast this with another seemingly positive EV steal. Here's the example scenario. Stealing from the button versus defenders. Hero's on the button with 8-6 suited, and is considering a steal to 3 big blinds. The small blind villain has a fold to steal of 73%, with the small blind 3-bet steal of 7%. The big blind villain has a fold to steal of 75%, with a big blind 3-bet steal of 13%. What is hero's best option, to fold or to steal? Either play in this instance is valid, but if hero chooses to steal, he must be prepared for 3-bet steals. The break-even math is still 67% here, and on the surface it looks like both players fold enough to make this an outright profitable steal. But together they fold a measly 55% of the time, which is 0.73 times 0.75. That means that 45% of the time, hero can expect the blinds to defend with calls and 3-bet steals. Out of this 45% defending frequency, we can expect one of these players to 3-bet steal somewhere between 7 and 13% of the time. Hero must be prepared for this, and spotting these statistics ahead of time helps hero to make positive EV decisions. If both blinds fold, great, hero takes the pot. If one or both call, then hero must play post-flop and with position. But if one 3-bet steals, then it's an easy fold with 8-6 suited. Develop a blind stealing mindset. I want you to do more than only look for good blind stealing opportunities. I want you to have a blind stealing mindset. Every time you have the opportunity to steal, ask yourself this question. Those are my blinds. How can I add them to my stack? The cards you hold are a secondary consideration when stealing. Sure, 8-6 suited has better equity than 9-deuce offsuit if called. But if the blinds are folding often enough, then a steal is positive EV regardless of the cards you hold. You can do it with a tissue and a postcard instead of 8-6 suited or 9-deuce offsuit for all I care. If they're folding, you're picking up those easy chips. The stealing mindset is all about looking for good stealing opportunities and targeting the best opponents. If they're folding, you're stealing. Opponent types to target. Which player types make for great blind stealing targets? In general, nits, tagfish, and tags are tight players. They are wise to the power of position and hand strength, and get out of the way when they have neither. To go beyond this simple answer, though, we must target our steals on anyone who folds their blinds often enough. Every player type, even the lags and whales, have the potential to be ripe targets for blind steals. Many players have an aversion to playing out of the blinds. They hate going post-flop without position and will only do so with a good hand. Find those players and pick up some easy chips from them. Here are some signs that a player is perfect for blind stealing. Number 1, they have a high fold to steal stat. Anything over 80% is great to see. Number 2, they have a low 3-bet steal stat. Great targets are at 3% or less, average targets 3 to 6%, and above 6% are not great targets. That doesn't mean you can't steal from them, but be prepared for 3-bet steal coming right back at you. Number 3. They have a low call-steal statistic. You're shooting for folds here. If they often make calls, you probably won't face a 3-bet steal, but you're more likely to go post-flop, which isn't the intent of your steal. A call-steal stat at less than 15% is great, and between 15 and 30% is okay. At over 30%, plan on seeing the flop. And number 4, they are flop-honest players. If their fold to c-bet stat is high, like 70% or more, you've got an additional way to win the pot post-flop if they call your steal. Statistics to track this week. Attempt to steal. Track this as a total and by position in the cutoff, button, and small blind. Also track your steal then fold, steal then call, and steal then 4-bet statistics in the cutoff, button, and small blind. And track the win rate when you attempted a steal. Play with purpose number 1. Over the next week, play 3 steal focus sessions at 30 to 45 minutes each. Your intent in these sessions is to think about the 3 players to your left and how they will respond to your steals. Is it positive EV to steal at every opportunity, or will these players fight back with lots of calls or 3-bet steals? If they 3-bet steal, how wide or narrow is their range? Assess the likelihood of your steals working for the table you're at, and steal at every positive EV opportunity. Take notes and tag questionable hands for later review. Before you steal, know what you'll do versus a 3-bet steal, and prepare for post-flop play in case you're called. Play with purpose number 2. Record game tape of at least one of the above steal focus sessions, then review it in your next study session. Complete the first study with purpose item below before you record your session. Speak through your thoughts and verbalize the logic you're using for each steal opportunity. And play with purpose number 3. Play 2 focus sessions where you're focused on the steals that you face when in the blinds. You'll pay attention to the 3 opponents on your right this time. Look at their attempt to steal stat, their steal then fold to 3-bet stat, and their post-flop stats to gauge what to expect if you choose to call. Study with purpose number 1. Watch this video of game tape I recorded showing how I conduct steal focus sessions. Go to www.smartpokerstudy.com/steal focus session. I spoke through each decision and elaborated on the things I consider for my steal attempts. You'll even see me leave a table because it was too difficult to steal from, due to the aggressive nature of the players there. Study with purpose number 2. Watch the game tape you recorded earlier. As you watch, you'll notice mistakes or gaps in logic that you can correct the next time you play. Take note of these mistakes and focus on not making them again in your next session. And study with purpose number 3. Create ranges in Flopzilla for the most common 3-bet steal stats your winning opponents have. For example, you may find many opponents in the following ranges. 2 to 3%, create a 3% range for this. 4 to 6%, create a 6% range. 6 to 9%, create a 9% range. And then 10 to 15%, create a 12 and a 15% range. Seeing the ranges your opponents 3-bet with will open your eyes to how weak and undefendable some of their ranges are. This will lead to finding good calling and 4-betting opportunities versus the wider 3-bet steal ranges. Thank you so much for listening today. Make sure you enable my Alexa Flash Briefing skill. Just search for Smart Poker Study in the Amazon Alexa store. If you can type the words or say the word Smart Poker Study, you can find me on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you have questions, send them on in, sky@smartpokerstudy.com. Alrighty, poker people, next week in episode 187, I'll continue discussing the second poker leak of not putting yourself in bread and butter situations. Word of mouth is the best advertising, so thank you very much for sharing the show with other poker people. Your sharing and caring is what helps us grow. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.